Have you ever heard someone say, it takes money to make money, and thought, yeah, easy for you to say? Or maybe you felt this. You work hard, your paycheck comes in, you pay your bills, you buy a few things to feel human, and suddenly you're back at zero. The idea of having $10,000 saved, let alone $20,000, feels like something other people do. But what if I told you this? Hitting $20,000 in savings can be a turning point in your life. Not because $20,000 makes you rich, but because of the way it changes your mindset, your options, and your future. In this video, we're going to talk about why the first $20,000 is the hardest and the most important, what happens to your life, your stress level, and your opportunities when you reach it, exactly how to get there even if you're starting from zero, and the biggest mistake people make once they finally hit that number. Make sure you stay until the end because that last mistake is what keeps a lot of people stuck in the same financial place for years. All right, let's get into it. Imagine two people, Sarah and Mike. They're the same age, they live in the same city, they work in similar kinds of jobs. On the surface, they're not very different, but their lives feel completely different. Let's start with Sarah. Sarah has no savings. Her paycheck comes in and almost instantly it's spoken for. Rent, electric bill, groceries, gas, phone bill, streaming subscriptions, the occasional takeout or night out because she's exhausted and needs a break. By the time the end of the month comes around, her bank account is basically at zero. Sometimes it even dips into the negative. That feeling in her stomach when she checks her balance, yeah, that's anxiety. Every decision Sarah makes about money is driven by fear. She says yes to jobs she doesn't like because she can't afford to be unemployed for even a few weeks. When her boss is rude or she's treated badly at work, she just puts up with it. She feels like she has no choice. If her car makes a strange sound or her phone screen cracks, she panics. How am I going to pay for this? She's not irresponsible. She's not lazy. She's simply stuck in survival mode. Now, let's look at Mike. Mike has about $20,000 saved. He's not rich, he still works for a living, he still has to budget, but his life feels very different. When a surprise expense comes up, like a car repair or a medical bill, it's annoying, but it doesn't break him. If his company starts talking about layoffs, he doesn't immediately freak out because he knows he could survive a few months without income. He started putting money into investments, nothing too crazy, just basic steady investing, and he's starting to see his money grow. Same world, same economy, same type of job. So why do their lives feel so different? The answer isn't just the number in their bank accounts. It's the mental shift that happens when you go from having no savings to having a meaningful financial cushion. Let's talk about that mental shift. When you have no savings, everything in your life runs through a filter of fear. You might recognize some of this. You say yes to any job because you need money right now. You're scared of your car breaking down. You avoid going to the doctor because you're worried about the bill. You don't think about investing because you feel like, how can I invest when I can barely pay my bills? You're not building wealth. You're not planning for the future. You're just trying to make it to the next paycheck. That's survival mode. Now, what happens when you have a little bit of savings? Let's say you've managed to save just $2,000. That's not life-changing money, but it is enough to handle some of the common emergencies: a flat tire, a minor medical expense, a broken appliance. Suddenly, life feels a tiny bit less dangerous. Research has shown that even a small emergency fund, just a couple $1,000s, can significantly increase people's financial confidence. Your stress drops, your fear decreases, you feel just a little safer. Now imagine instead of $2,000, you have $20,000 saved. At that point, you're not just protecting yourself from small emergencies, you're starting to buy yourself time and options. If your monthly expenses are around $2,000 to $3,000, then $20,000 can cover 6 to 10 months of basic living costs. That means if you lose your job, it's not an instant crisis. If your workplace is toxic, you can actually quit and take some time to find something better. If you want to move to a different city or country, it becomes possible. You can think about starting a small business or side hustle without being terrified that one slow month will destroy your whole life. That is the difference between survival mode and stability mode. And that feeling of having options, of not being forced into bad decisions, is priceless. So why do people talk about $20,000 as a big turning point? Of course, the exact number might be different depending on where you live and what your expenses are. Maybe for you, the key number is $10,000. Maybe it's $30,000. But $20,000 is a powerful milestone for a lot of people because of three big reasons. Number one, you're mostly out of crisis mode. You don't live in constant fear that one small problem will ruin everything. Number two, your money is finally big enough that investing feels real. Number three, to reach $20,000, you had to build real discipline and habits. Let's go through each of these. First, being out of constant crisis mode. If you can cover 6 months or more of your basic expenses from your savings, you're not stuck anymore. You can say no to bad offers. You can leave bad situations. You can plan beyond just this month. Second, your money can now start to work for you. Let's look at some simple math. If you invest $1,000 at 10% annual return, you make about $100 in a year. $10,000 at a 10% return makes you $1,000 in a year. $20,000 at a 10% return makes you $2,000 in a year. It's the same percentage, but the feeling is completely different. When your account is small, even a good return doesn't feel much. When your savings reaches $20,000, those same returns suddenly feel meaningful. You may not notice the difference between making $7 and $11, but you will notice the difference between making $200 and $2,000. That's where the belief starts to kick in. Wait a second, my money can actually grow without me working for every single dollar? That weeds straight into the third point, your habits. You don't stumble your way to $20,000. To get there, you had to track your spending at least a little, say no to some things you wanted in the moment, make saving a regular part of your life, and stay consistent for months or even years. You had to prove to yourself, through your actions, that you can control your money. That shift from money just disappears to I tell my money where to go is massive. So yes, the number is important, but what really matters is the person you become on the way to that number. Now let's talk about something most people underestimate, momentum. At the beginning, saving feels painfully slow. You cut a few expenses, you put a little aside every month, and you look at your account and it's like, seriously? All that effort and I only have a few $100s? That phase is the hardest. You're doing the work, but it doesn't feel like anything is happening. But as your savings grows, something else starts to kick in, compound growth. Let's say you manage to save and invest $1,000 every month, and your investments earn around 8% per year on average. In the beginning, almost all of your growth comes from your contributions. You're putting in $1,000 and your investments are maybe adding a little bit on top, $20 here, $30 there. It doesn't feel exciting. But over time, as your total amount grows, the same 8% return starts giving you bigger and bigger dollar amounts. Let's imagine a rough timeline. It might take you around 1.5 to 2 years to save your first $20,000, depending on how consistent you are and when your returns start compounding. During this time, you might feel like you're just grinding, little progress, lots of sacrifice. But once you hit that $20,000 mark, things shift. Now, 8% of $20,000 is $1,600 in a year. Combine that with the $12,000 a year you're contributing, your $1,000 per month, and suddenly you're adding almost $13,600 per year to your net worth. The next $20,000 doesn't take as long. Then the next one takes even less. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill. At the top, it's tiny and slow, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow, gets heavier, and speeds up. That's how money works once you get past that initial phase. The math doesn't change. The trick is simply you have to stay in the game long enough for the math to work for you. And that's why the first $20,000 is the hardest and the most important. After that, your habits are solid, your momentum is real, and your money finally starts helping you. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, look, I'm not even at $2,000, I'm at zero, or worse, I'm in debt. How is $20,000 ever going to happen for me? I want you to know this is exactly where so many people start. And the good news, it's not only possible, it's completely within your reach. In part 2, I'm going to break down the exact step-by-step plan to get you from where you are right now all the way to that $20,000 milestone. We'll cover how to take control of your money, build saving habits that stick, and even how to boost your income so you can speed up the process. If you want to finally break free from the paycheck to paycheck cycle and start building real financial freedom, you won't want to miss it. Drop a comment below and let me know. Are you ready to take that first step toward $20,000? What's your biggest challenge right now? I'll see you in part 2 where the real transformation begins. If this video was helpful, go ahead and subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss part 2.